So the things that we've learned so far about navigating throughout these track screens is we've talked about moving columns around just by picking up and dragging. We've talked about pinning the columns down so that as we use the scroll bar from left to right, we're able to view various columns and keep them in place so that we can always see them. We've talked about reorganizing the data just by clicking on the column header. Okay. So what I want to talk about next is this view. The organization of the data and the order in which these columns are displayed is something that can be managed on a user-by-user basis. And by clicking on these tabs, you've got 4 tabs here: Jobs, Filters, Views, and Configure. If we click on this Views tab and call up the Job List view, this is where you can establish the columns of data that are displayed, and if you have a sort order that you prefer, you can set that up. Now, all of this will be covered in more detail in the more advanced sessions, the one-on-one and the more advanced training sessions, but I just wanted to show you that there are options here for establishing various views, and you can have more than one view so that you can control what is seen, the jobs and the order in which they are seen on your job list. So I'm just going to click back on the jobs so it will take us directly back to the job list. Okay. The second tab that we'll talk about is that of filter. And filters, the purpose of a filter is to allow us to choose which jobs will actually be displayed. The filter that we have right now is no filter, so it's showing us all the jobs that we have in the database. But if we wanted to see, for instance, we can set up a filter for all the new jobs, we can set up a filter for all the pending jobs, etc. And again, this will be covered in the more advanced sections of training, but I just wanted to show you that this is an option that allows you to more easily control which jobs will be displayed. Let us talk next about the columns of data that are displayed here. Most of them are self-explanatory, but there are a few that you may not be familiar with. Obviously, things like season, brand, department, supplier, fabric supplier, all of those, as well as the job date, are fairly self-explanatory. But there are some other fields that I'd just like to review with you so that you understand what they mean. The first is something called location. Remember, one of the main advantages that we talked about of Datacolor Track was instant visibility to where jobs are in process. This location column tells us where the job is, where it is in process. If it is a new job that has just been received back from a customer and requires some input from us that needs our attention, maybe it is a new approval, or maybe it is a rejection which requires us to resubmit lab dips, we will be able to put our attention directly on that job immediately because it does require some attention from us to proceed. Other locations such as export and import allow us to manually send a job as a QTX file or manually import a job as a QTX file. And you'll notice that because I have scrolled over, I have 2 icons above the location column. One is called Save QTX, one is called Get QTX. And if I click on one of these jobs, select a job here, and say that I want to save as a QTX, it will take that job and manually create a QTX file for that job. So that is what the location of export or import means, that I have either saved it as a QTX, which means export, or I have imported it as a QTX, and that is the location code that you will see. Sent to customer is another location that you will see when you begin working with Datacolor Track. Let's say that this new job that we created, we want to send it to Walmart. We are ready to submit it for their evaluation process. When we highlight this job, to send it to Walmart, we would click on this button, Customer. That means it's going to send that information to the customer. Now, I'm not going to do that now because we don't want to confuse Walmart by sending them something that's not really a job. But if I clicked on this button, the location of this particular job would change from pending to sent to customer. When Walmart's system intercepts that job and processes it through their track system, it will send a message back to us, and it will change that location from sent to customer to received by customer. And we talked about instant visibility. That allows us to see that not only has it been sent, but it's been received. So now we know that they have the job, and as soon as they evaluate it, they will send it back to us, and it will arrive in our Datacolor track system as a quote-unquote new job. The location will change to new job, meaning they have responded, and it is now our turn to evaluate what they have done, see if it is an approval, a rejection, and what kind of attention is required for us to analyze that job. The supplier and the mill buttons work in the same way. This just allows us to send jobs to a fabric supplier or send them to another supplier. Okay. The job date, we talked about this, but it is, just to reiterate, it is the last date that the job has been updated. It is not the date this job was begun. It is the last time it has been updated. So this time and date stamp will change every time that job is updated. Okay. There also is a job comment field, which just allows us to put miscellaneous information about a various job. And then a job status. This just tells us the overall status. Is it open? Is it canceled? Is it completed, etc.? So you're able to establish what the overall job status here is. Okay? And those jobs that have been completed, we can configure the job view to kind of hide those jobs, because you can imagine after a year's worth of data, you're going to end up with quite a long list of jobs here. So we want to make sure that we're able just to move those and hide the closed and canceled jobs. They still exist in your database, but they do not exist daily in your job list because you don't want to necessarily access them on a daily basis. Okay. There also is a status column here, and this is where we would receive information back from our customer telling us the disposition of an approval. They will tell us whether they have accepted that lab dip submission, they have rejected it, it is still under review, or they maybe have requested a physical sample from you. So that's what you'll see here when you look at this status. This particular column does remain blank until you receive a response from your customer. So that is something that they would fill out, not you filling it out on your end. Okay. Now, let's talk about a function that I think you will find useful, especially after you begin to develop quite a database here. Let's say that you wanted to find a particular job or a particular set of jobs or group of jobs. We have a find feature that can be accessed through this icon here with the magnifying glass. If I click on that find button, it says, what field do you want to evaluate? So if I select season, for instance, I want to see all of the jobs where the season is spring, if I can type, spring 2006. I'll click the find button. It takes my job list from a list of 23 jobs to a list of 3 jobs. Okay? So very quickly it isolates the jobs that meet the criteria that I put in.